Hi guys, Ray Said RC, and today we have the Kyosho Inferno GT2 VE. This is a 2020 Mercedes AMG GT3. This is a race spec RC. It is 8 scale. They are stating 80 kilometers per hour. It is 4-wheel drive and 4S capable. The overall length on this car is 660 millimeters. Overall wheelbase is 360 millimeters. The overall width is 310 millimeters. The overall height is 180 millimeters. But here we are, guys, with the Kyosho Inferno GT2 out of the box. This car looks amazing. The only thing that I did notice that there was some rubbing down here below. The stickers could have been fixed a little bit better for this pricing of this car. But outside of that, I think it looks great. Kyosho once again has done a great job in the design and making this look pretty close to scale. Some basic tools to get you by at first with this car. A wheel wrench, a T-wrench, some Allen wrenches in here as well. If your radio ever becomes unbound, you get a tool to rebind the receiver and transmitter back again. I've never had to use one of these for my Kyosho RCs. They do come in every one of the Kyoshos that I have owned at least, but I've never had a need to use it. Now this is great, guys. They give you an assembly guide for this RC. This is everything you're going to need if you ever decide to start taking this apart and going through every piece of the RC. It's in here. Every blowout is if you were building the Inferno. I mean, this is pretty good, guys. This is really good. I'm glad to see companies starting to step up and not only treat an RTR as something that you're never going to tear down. I'm glad to see that they do provide you all of these workings here for this car. And the all too infamous, to all of us who love to read, the user manual. And they give you a nice thick one, guys. It's not in color, it's in black and white, but there is some great reading in here. Down to the settings for your ESC. It has everything in there, guys. You are not going to be wanting for more with this user manual. So, you know, in your best efforts, get a good read with this and go through it before you run the RC. And probably my most favorite part of this is the controllers from Kyosho. And this one I haven't had before, even though it is very similar to the other ones that I've gotten with the Mad Van and also with my on-road phaser cars. This is the Kyosho controller. This one is the KT331P. And I have to say, it comes with a digital display, 4 AA's, just like the other ones. The angle of the controller is still the same, so it's very ergonomic, you know, works perfect with the hands. It feels good. What's different for me compared to the other ones that I've owned is that now you have a digital display here, and I'm liking this. I mean, everything else, the grip, the feel of the controller still all feels the same. It's a 3-channel controller. You do have your 3rd channel right here. Looking forward to having this out. But here we are, guys, in all of its glory, the Inferno GT2 VE, the Mercedes edition. I am impressed. I'm impressed with what Kyosho has put in front of me today, and I do not regret buying this RC. It does come in a little pricey. At the time of this video, I spent about $620 for this car before taxes, US. That disc does come in a little bit higher on the 8 scale cars that I own, but I have to say for this one, and I will show you guys compared to my other 8 scale RCs, comes a little bit bigger, guys. This is a little bit longer wheelbase on this one, and you'll see it compared to some of my other on-road RCs. These molded mirrors on the sides, both sides of the car. You have a lens system in here so you can add LEDs in the front and also in the rear. You have a nice molded wing out here on the rear, and it's sturdy, guys. It feels really good. I mean, the rigidity of this body feels nice. We'll get this thing off so you guys can see underneath. But it just looks nice, guys. They did well. As I said, the mirrors, they're an additional piece. The wing, you have the lighting lens system here in the rear and again in the front. They did a very good job. They did a very good job in putting this together. Windows come nice and clear, as you guys can see, and we love that. That's a plus. But the body was done well. So underneath the shell, for those of you that have owned an Inferno GT2 VE before, there's not much difference under here. Yes, they are using slightly different electronics compared to some of the older models of the Inferno GT2 VE, but as for the way the build of the chassis, it's pretty close to what you've seen over the years. There's not much difference here compared to some of the other Inferno GT2 VEs. But let's go through this, guys. As I'm looking through these tires, feels nice and firm. I like the compound of them. I'm going to see how these hold up on the tarmac, where I like to drive my cars, and see how this holds up. In the front, we have a nice firm bumper to give us some support. Attached to that, coming off, we have an adjustable body mount system extended off of the shock tower. We have plastic body shocks, but they have a metal shock cap, and they are twist down or screw down adjustable shocks, and the collar on that is also metal, guys. Looking at the shocks, you have several adjustments on the uppers. On the lowers, it looks like we only have 2 adjustables on the lowers. What I'm surprised not seeing on this car, there aren't sway bars. So, you know, I'm used to seeing on my on-road 8-scale cars, sway bars installed on them. This one I'm noticing that there are not. There's no sway bars on here. We'll see how this holds up and how stiff the ride actually is on this. And then one of the things I wanted to point out before I go any further is that what you'll notice on the Kyosho kits, and this is common for most of the Kyosho kits that you'll see, it is Phillips screws throughout. Now I do understand they do use a higher end Phillips screw. So this is not your typical screws that strip out. If you're using the proper tools to work on this car, Phillips screws, you will not have any issues with it whatsoever. So getting back into it, you have a double wishbone type suspension up in the front, CVA type drive shafts in the front. You have camber and toe adjustments in the front. Turnbuckles in the front as well. So there's multiple adjustment points in the front from what I'm looking at here. Steering blocks on this car are all metal. You have a composite chassis brace in the front. Coming off of the front differential and going to the center, you have a dog bone between there. Then you have your center differential, which has a plastic spur gear with a metal pinion. Then coming off to the rear, you also have another dog bone between the center differential to the rear differential. And then you have a composite shock, you have a composite chassis brace also in the rear. There are dog bone drive shafts in the rear. On the rear, only camber is able to be adjusted on this car, but you do have, once again, metal shock caps with a plastic shock body and metal collars as the adjustments for those shocks. As for the suspension arms in the front and the rear, it's a pretty good size, guys. I'd say they're fairly good size for an on-road car. We'll have to see how they perform, but I think they're fairly good size. This is not an off-road basher, so you're not going to beat it up too hard. Most you'll do is crash into a couple of curbs, but for the most part, or if you're driving around with your buddies, you'll crash into your buddies, but I don't think you're going to have too much problems with the suspension arms on this car. You have a metal chassis on this car as well. So underneath on the front of the chassis, you can see a slight kick up. It looks like you also have capabilities of adjusting your droop in the front and also on the rear on this car. I mean, it's well built. I have to say that. It is an extremely well built car. Looking at the servo, you have a KS5031 -09MW, and that 9MW, if I'm correct, is a 9-kilogram servo, guys. There's also a servo saver installed on this car. You have a nice size battery tray that has 3 Velcro straps to hold your battery in. It is not adjustable. It's a fixed size battery tray. You have a metal motor mount on this car. It is a sliding motor mount adjustment. It's a 2300 kV motor, and that's paired up to a 4S capable ESC. The Brains 8 2 to 4S rated, and it is a 120 amp ESC. My plan is I'm going to run it stock for the first 2 runs, and then I may swap out that ESC for a 6S capable ESC. But I've seen videos of this car, and I do like the power that I see this thing puts out. So I'll see. Maybe the 4S is going to be more than enough for me. Maybe I'll put a 6S system, but run it on 4S just if I notice that there's a little bit more heat with this system. But it's the winter months for me at this point, so I may be able to get away with this for now and then see what happens in the summer months. But I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing. Yeah, this is the only thing that I'll have to say at this point, just looking this over as a disappointment, is seeing the DIN/T-plug connectors on here. I'll be removing these and putting on my own connectors on this car. So this right here is my Ofna GTP2E. This is a traditional 8-scale on-road car. I've kind of converted it into more of a rally car. And you guys may have seen this on my channel or on Instagram before. The wheelbase on this is more of a traditional 8-scale on-road car. And what this is based off of is more of a buggy platform. So it has a traditional buggy wheelbase length. And I'm going to give you guys some different angles to get a better idea of the width and the length of the two, but that's what this is. If you remember the original Infernos, those were the shorter wheelbase cars. Now hopefully that's coming up on the camera pretty good, but the widths of these two cars is pretty much spot on. There's not much difference when it comes to width. I'll show you an angle to give you a little bit better idea of length, but the width on this is they're going to be about the same on them. And that's what it's going to be about there on length, guys, to give you a good idea. So I have the right spot on with each other right here. And from here, you guys can see length differences. With the GT2 VE, it is a longer chassis on there. You could see the difference. So if you ever were trying to get, this is a Delta plastic body, and you ever was trying to get, you know, a length of the Delta plastic body, this one that you have for this wheelbase clearly, as you guys can see, would not work with this. Or if you had the shorter wheelbase 8-scale RC, you see that it would not work with the Kyosho bodies. Here we are, guys, the Arrma Felony and the Kyosho Inferno GT2 VE. 1/7 scale, 1/8 scale-ish. As I said before, guys, I showed you a traditional 8-scale on-road car. This comes in slightly bigger than it, but doesn't come to the size of a 7th scale. You guys can see a little bit of the size difference between these two cars. And I'll show you some other angles so you guys get a better idea. But yeah, this is true 7th scale, 1/8 scale-ish. So there we are with the widths, guys. The Arrma Felony is a wider car, not by much. Not by much. And I'm not sure if the video is doing this any service, but yeah, it's not much that you're seeing the difference between the width on the two cars. The length, it's clear. The width, not by much between the two. Clearly, you guys can see that 1/8 scale, 1/7 scale. I think this, as I said, comes right in between a true 1/8 scale on-road car and the 7 scale. It's that happy medium in between. I will say this, it would be fun to see trying on the wheels from the Arrma Felony on the Kyosho. They are 17mm hexes on both cars. The diameters on the Felony are just a little bit wider. So I don't know how much rubbing you're actually going to get on them. They are belted, but you may get some rubbing on them. And the rears are definitely meatier. I don't know how the differentials in the rear on the Kyosho would hold up to those wheels that are on the rear of the Felony, but it would be nice to see, I will say that. But that's it, guys. We've done an overview of what you get in the box with the Kyosho Inferno GT2. We've done a comparisons with the Kyosho and my Ofna. We've done another comparisons with the Kyosho and the Arrma Felony. But that's it, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell so you get the latest notification of our videos. This is Ready Set RC, signing out. Thanks again, guys.